So we talked about if as a logical statement and then sum as a function that perform addition operations for us. So that was what we actually discussed about on Thursday. So this evening I'll just be moving straight into sum if, and then so that means you are summing a particular category with a logical statement. So you're making a sum with a logical statement. So here I already have a prepared data set for us. A prepared data set for us that we'll be using. Please can you help us to mute your mic? So I already have a data set I'll be using for tonight. So and this is the data set. So it can be bold a bit. So this is the data set. So we have the item, we have category, we have quantity, we have price, and then we have sold. So this, please, Mr. Ben, please can you mute your mic? So we have the status which is sold or not. So whether the product is sold, which is yes, or not, which is no. So let's quickly perform some basic analysis here. But before then, let me explain what sum if. Now let me come here. Now sum if. Now if you check this, it's actually showing us something. So I want us to follow this. So it's saying sum if. Now it's giving us a range. Sum this range, like check through this range, and then the criteria in that range. And now tell us which range you actually want to sum. So I already have some of the prepared questions. So this question will help us to be able to understand what this sum ifs and then what count if is all about. So let's come to this place and then answers our questions. So it says, what is the total revenue from sold fruit? So what we are saying now is that we want to calculate the total price, which is going to be our revenue, on products that their status is what? Yes, under this sold. Do we get what I'm trying to explain now? He said, what is the total revenue from sold fruits? So under this sold here now, so we only want to calculate for products that has yes as status on this sold. So that's basically what we want to do right now. So we come here and now we said equals sum if sum if. Now, so we are going to select a range. So let's select this range. So this is the range. And then we are going to have a comma. So the criteria that we actually want to use is that we want to use a product, one of these items that the status under the sold is yes. So we have yes. Now, after we've already given the criteria, now which range did we want to sum? So we want to sum the total revenue, which is under the price. So we are now going to sum price here. So let's close our bracket here. All right. Now, so we have 699 $666.95. Now let's do something. If we talked about some on Tuesday, on Thursday, so that we will know that okay, we're actually on the same, so that we will know that we're on the same page. Now if you look at this price here, everything under this price is what? $85. Now but the total revenue from sold fruits is just what? 66.95 dollars. So it's actually telling us okay, after selling, so what is sold is actually $66.95. Are we clear on that? Any question before I move on? Any question? Okay. So let me move on then. So the second question was saying how many how many vegetables were sold. Now, the way question comes makes us to understand what particular formula to use. Now, by the time they ask like how many, so indirectly they are telling us what is the number. So in this phase now, we already know that okay, what we are going to be using is count function. We want to count so that we can actually obtain how many numbers, what is the quantity. So that's basically what we are doing here. Now, yeah, if you check here, we said how many vegetables were sold. Yeah, how many vegetables were sold. Now, if you check here, we have okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have vegetables here. So we have vegetables here, and then we now have some. Oh, this should be under some ifs. This particular question should be under some ifs, but nevertheless, let's go on. So we have some ifs, and before then, let me forward use. Let's use count first so that we can be on the same page. Now, so count if. Then let's count range. Let's count range, and then the criteria. Let's count for vegetables. So let's count for vegetable. Now, if you actually check here, we're having we're having four, and then if you count it here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're having four vegetables under this category. So I want to believe we understood what I'm actually explaining here. But this is still not the correct like answers to this question. How many vegetables were sold? When we get under count if or some ifs, I'm really going to come back to this question and explain another thing to us. But for now, let's just suffer it to be like this. So let me just copy this question and then bring it back here. All right. So he said, what is the total quantity of items sold? So what is the total quantity of items sold? So in that we are still going to be using the same formula that we use here in this phase. The only difference is that we are going to be summing the quantity column and not the price column. So that's what we are actually going to be summing here. All right. So let's have some if, and then the range will be items that were sold, and then our criteria will be yes, because we actually want to see number of uh, the quantity of items sold. Then we now have the sum range. So we come here, and then we have this. So we have, so it means in all of this, so let me come here. Let's have equals sum. Let's know the total quantity first. So we have 171 as the total quantity sold, and then as the total quantity rather, then we are asked to calculate what is the total quantity of items sold. So yeah, we use some if to be able to know that, oh, we have 108 items sold in all of this. We have just 100 and sorry, can we see my screen? So we have just 108 items sold in this particular data that we're actually looking at. So let's move on to the last question in this phase. So which is how many fruits are there in total? So how many fruits are there in total? So this is what we do. Equals sum if, then you come to this side. That is the range. And then our criteria now we change to fruits. And then the range that we want to sum is that how many fruits are there in total. So what we are just going to be checking here is come back here and then put this. So we have out of this 171, out of this 171, we have just 70 of this 171 quantity that were fruits. So they belong to the fruit category. Now, I was saying how many vegetables are sold will be brought down to this next question so that I can be able to explain what some is really all about. So let me write the formula that we use at this side so that we will not be confused. Count if, we use sum if, and then we also use sum if here. So are we on the same page now? Are we on the same page? Any question before we move to the next phase? We are not responding. Are we here?
I don't really understand though. Well, I'm lost. I wasn't. I
Oh, okay. If you are not here in the last class, okay, I will upload the last, but that does not still mean that you shouldn't understand this class. So in order to be able to do justice to that, before I move on to can't ifs, because I know that might actually takes us eternity to understand when we move on to a bit complex formula. So let me just go back to this again. I said before we start, I said we'll be looking at these four formulas today, which are sum if, count if, and then sum ifs, and then count ifs. And then if time permits us, we might just jump into test functions. But for today, so last class we talked about sum. Sum is just basically uh formula to calculate like your addition. Let's say we have one, two, and then we have three, and then we have four. Okay, this place is four, right? So I want this place to be their total. I want this place to be total. So what I want to do is I want this place to be equals sum of all of this. Sorry, equals sum of all of this. So the sum of all of this is 10. So that is what sum actually does. Then I also explained in the last class, I'm not sure, do we still have the if here? So I also explained what if actually means in the last class. I was saying if is a logical statement which shows like between a logical condition that if something happen, let this one happen. So in this place now, what we actually did is that, okay, if this city, under this city, anywhere that is equals to Lagos, let it be equals to selected. So, and if you can see, all these Lagos were marked with selected under their status. So let's come back to this. So combining the logical function and then with the sum function, that is what brought about sum if. So which means in a layman terms, if you want to explain what sum if is, you can just say sum if. Now you are summing category based on some certain conditions. For instance, let's say you went to the poultry and then they ask you, so in that poultry you have different birds. So you have turkey, you have your chickens, and then even under chickens you now have another category. Probably you have your broilers, you have your noilers and all. Now they now said count only the, oh, Sandra, you're welcome, you came late today. So under your sum they can ask you to calculate and said count only the broilers under the chicken category. Yes. So they can ask you like count only the broilers. So in that case now, so there's already a condition to it. Or they can even ask you that, okay, count only broilers that are less than 1 kg. I don't know whether you're trying to get what I'm saying now. So you're already having different logical conditions attached to your count. Same as, let's say you are working in a bank and then they ask you, okay, what is the total of like what is the total sum of money that we have in this account? Like let's say you just have like a, I don't know how bank sector really operates that much, but let's say, okay, calculate all this money that are only for fat charges. So when you are summing everything, you are not summing how much is inside that person's account. You're only summing, okay, amount based on their fat charges. So whether they have 200,000 they credited to their account, you are not summing that. You're only summing the amount that carries VAT. So same thing is what we actually did here. So we having, let me delete this thing again so that we can do it again. So we said what is the total revenue from the sold fruit? And I explained. So we have all these items here. So this is the names of like items. And then we have categories which they belongs to. And then we have their quantity. So these are the quantities of all of these things. So we have them here. And then we have the price of each of these items. And then we now have their status, which is either sold, or not. So under this sold, when you have your yes, it means that item is actually sold. And then when you have no, it means that item is not sold. Now, so let's now calculate for like the total revenue that we got from the sold fruit. Now, so this is what we do, because sum if. So what we want to do is range sold criteria is yes, and then the sum range should be the price, since it's the revenue that we want to calculate. Why I'm choosing yes is because revenue from sold fruit. So that's what they actually, the one that is sold out, that's what we're actually checking. So let me, instead of this sold fruit, let me change this to sold items. Yeah, so we won't have issues. So let me copy that and then bring it down. So we have 66.95 dollars actually. So and then I come here, I did sum of everything, sum of all these prices, both sold and unsold goods. The total price is like $85.40. So in this way now, you can say this $85.40 is your let's call it like your inventory value. Yeah, this should be like your inventory value. And then this 66.95 should be like, okay, what you've actually sold out. So to now get what is remaining in your stock, we can only just do, okay, this 85.40 minus this 66.95, which is as simple as that. So then by the time we come to count if, I will say, okay, all right, how many vegetables were sold? So how many? So basically they are asking us to count something. So they're asking us for a count. Yeah. So I did just two things. I'll do justice to this. How many vegetables were sold? Let me first teach us this part of it. Count if, because the whole of this question can be answered with count ifs and then all. But for now, let's just deal with this alone. So count if range, we want to count, sorry, so we want to count like numbers of vegetables that appears here. All right, so we have four. How many vegetables were sold? So under this category, but in order to really get how many vegetables were sold, you will agree with me that we actually have to count, we have to sum these quantity columns. But for now, let's just suffer it to be like this, and then when we get to um ifs, like complex if, then we can be able to sort that out. Then I will make a good justice to that. Then we now ask, okay, what is the total quantity of items sold? Now let me do that again. So we have sum if. So the total quantity of items sold. Now if you come here, these are all the items. So what we want to do is we want to sum this range now. Items sold are known with what? Yes, that is the condition for items sold. And then the range we now want to sum is what? The quantity range, which is here. So by summing the quantity range, we actually want to get how many quantity of these items were sold. So we have 108 out of 171 quantity. So we have out of 171 quantity. So if probably you are a data analyst to know, okay, what is the ratio or what is the percentage of goods sold from, like in this stock. So they sold 108 out of 107. So the percentage of goods sold should be, yeah, let's change this to, let's change it to, so they only sold 63% of their goods. They only sold 63% of their goods. So, and then let's now move on to, okay, how many fruits are there in total? How many fruits are there in total? So that's almost same question with how many vegetables were sold. That was why I was saying I'll still do justice to how many vegetables were sold. So how many fruits are there in total? So we come here, range, and then what we actually want to check is what? Numbers of fruits. So we come here and then we select quantity, because we want to know like the numbers of fruits in this store. So we have 70 as fruits. So 70 belongs to the, we don't know how many belongs to, we can actually do that for each of those category and then get their values. Am I clear enough now?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Okay, all right. So let me just move on to the other part of it. which is the sum ifs, the count if, I mean this one, the sum ifs and then the count ifs. All right. So let me come here. What is the total revenue from sold items in meat category? Now, if you check this question, is different from what is the total revenue from sold items. The difference is that from sold items, you are talking in respect to the general. But when it comes to what is the total revenues from sold items in meat category, so you've already drilled it down to the meat category. So it's just like, let me give an analogy of let me use poultry again, because that was what we actually started with. So you enter into the poultry, like you have different birds, and then the first question that they ask up is that what is the total number of birds in this poultry? So they are not asking you any category of the bird. They just say what is the total number of birds. So both every broiler, what else again? Layers, you count everything. And then you say, oh, we have 1,000 birds in this farm. But your boss is now particular and said, oh, we now have out of this 1,000. So that means you have to go back and count only the layers. So same way is what this question is also pointing to. It was saying, what is now the total revenue from sold items? So we've already calculated the sold items. We're not saying in meat category. Do we get what I'm trying to say? So in this two, I will still probably, if time permit us, next time we might just have to do um absolute reference so that you know how to deal with all this. So we have what is the total revenue of sold items in meat category. Now the first one that we did was sum if. That is that, but now we'll be going to sum ifs. So which means you are now having different, like, multiple conditions. Like I've said, the if at the back of this sum is giving you a logical statement, which means you're having different conditions. Do this when this one actually happens. This is the same thing that is actually into this if condition. Is the same thing that is they use in our AI, what's it called? AI gadgets or any smart device. Most of it works on your logical statement. Okay, you use your fingerprint. They will tell you, okay, if the fingerprint matches with the recorded fingerprint, which is set up when you get your phone, makes your phone unlock. That's why another person's fingerprint does not open your phone, because there is a logic that has to check the input to what is already recorded. So same thing is what we actually want to do here. So we say sum range. The first thing we are checking is what? The total revenue. So this is what we are summing. We want to get the revenue. We are interested in revenue. So we come here. Now, the first criteria that we want to check is under the sold. That's total revenue from sold items. So we come here. Under the sold items, check these sold items. Now, the criteria that you have to check under sold items is what? Yes. So if it is yes, it means that particular product was sold. Now, the criteria range 2 that we now want to check is under category. Come under category. Now, we've already gotten the total revenue for all the sold items. Now, after you now got the sold items, we now still want you to check and sum for us only the ones that belongs to the meat category. So we now say, okay, we've already selected the category which is in column B. Then we now said let, so we now say, okay, let that category side be mate, and then close your bracket. So let's see what it's going to give us. So this is giving us 13, this is $13. So it means we only have $13 sold in meat category. Now let's, I think the meat is a bit small, so let's try to do um basic calculation for ourselves, and then we see what we have here. Sure. Where is it here? Okay, these are the meats. We have $5. We have seven, and then we have six. So 7 plus 6, that's 13. So we only have 7 plus 6, that's 13. Now if you check this 5 under the sold, it's showing that it's not what? It's not sold. Can we see it now? So it's only calculating sum for only the one that has yes. It's only giving us calculation for the one that has yes. Are we on the same page now?
Yes, we are.
Okay, all right. Thank you, sir. All right, so let's move on to the second question. How many items are either fruits or vegetables? How many items are either fruits or vegetable? That's fine. So I intentionally put this there so that we can know that you can actually merge two formulas together. You can merge two formulas together. Now, if you are calculating how many items are what? Are in fruit category. Now, if you come here, this is fruit, Abi. One, two, three, four, five. If you check, we have one, two, three, four, five. So we only have 5 items in fruit category. And then under vegetables, we have what? One, two, three, four. So we have four in vegetables category. So if you are to answer this question, we say how many items are either in fruits or vegetables? So that means we are actually combining both the one that are in fruits and then the one that are under vegetables. So if we add 5 plus 4, that should give us 9. So let's see how to be able to calculate this in Excel. Why we are using this formula is because we are having just 18 items. We're having just 18 items here. So it's easy for us to be able to look through it and then say our answer factually. But imagine you are not having more than 1,000 rows or that. So how do you want to calculate that using your head? So let's have count. Count if. Now the range. This is the range. And then the criteria. The first criteria is what? Fruits. And then that's the end of that formula. Then I want to say plus count if again. Then I'm still going to use this range. Then the criteria will now be what? Vegetable now, and not fruit again. Now, so we have 9, just as we have calculated manually. So Excel is actually giving us 9. And what we actually did is that we merge two formulas together. So it means when you understand the basic functions and then formulas in Excel, it will be easy for you to be able to come up with your own formulas and then be able to do something that can solve the problem you are trying to solve. So the main goal of learning, or the main purpose of understanding or going through all these basic requirements is that once you understand the foundation, it will be easy to build up on it and then come up with your own formula just by merging different formulas together yourself. Yes. All right. So let me move on to the last question, and I'm going to ask us if we have any other questions again, and then so that I can be able to start that out tonight. So the next question says, okay, how many vegetables were sold? I think I brought it from this place so that we can have I can be able to attend to that very well. Now, how many vegetables were sold? That's the question. Now, if you come here, you will see this is vegetable, this is vegetable, this is vegetable, this is vegetable. And then this is quantity, this is quantity, this is quantity. So it means the right way to actually answer this question, that was why I said, okay, that's why I said this question, I use count if here so that at least we can have understanding of how count if works before we move into this one that we use count if again twice. So here now we are still going to be using what is called some ifs. So here now will be some ifs will have come to help us. So what we want to do is some, how many vegetables was sold? Okay, some if range, then criteria, vegetable, and then we now say sum the range of this quantity. So we have 31. Yes. So we have 31 vegetables were sold. So we have 31 vegetables sold out in this particular data, or in this particular store. Now, so before I move on to the next things, do we have any question? Do we have any question? Please, I need us to be interactive so that I can know that I'm actually communicating. Sandra, are you busy at work? I don't have any question actually, but oh, okay, no problem. I know it's a normal thing to get confused at this stage, but the main goal of actually doing this bootcamp is to make sure that everybody is actually on the same page. It's a normal thing, but I will try as much as possible to make sure that I break this down to the barest minimum. Yes, yes, I can hear you. Yes. Okay. Let me I thought you wanted to give a scenario so that I can be able to get that clearly. Okay. 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 Let me come to the let me answer the question this way. Now, what I mean, now we have built-in functions in Excel. But when I say you can intense as time goes on, create your own formula is that you make use of this built-in function that you already have. Then by the time you combine these formulas together, it's going to give you something like a should I call it an almighty formula now? In that case, it will be only unique to you and to that particular spreadsheet. It's not going to be like in the whole of the Excel. Another one is that you can decide to create a macro. Like I was doing the first day when I was doing introduction, we have this macro and then Visual Basic. You can decide to do a macro and then you record it, keep it on your Excel if you are repeating the same thing all over again. And then you are going to assign it to a button that, okay, let's say I created a macro to calculate simple interest for example. So I can just create a button that will be like, okay, probably calculate or simple interest. So anytime I input values in that place and then I just click on simple interest, it's going to calculate the whole something for me without me writing the formula again or going through the same process over and over again. Now, I plan to teach us on this function today or and other basic functions. They are still part of the logical functions. Now, let's say this is we have and statements, we have or statements. Now, in logical operations or logical operators, it will tell you, okay, so the principle is the best way to can you explain the difference between absolute in formulas? Yes, it's part of what we are actually going to cover, but for the sake of your questions, let me quickly answer that. And then when we get to the place, then we have a better understanding of it. Now, first, to visualize data, I explained it that day. Let's say we actually just want to visualize this fruit and then quantity. We want to be able to see from this fruit and quantity, uh, probably through a bar chart or a pie chart, which of these actually has the highest quantity. So you can come to this insert, and then by the time you come to this insert, you have your recommended chart. Right. Now, this is the best one for it. Now, if you look at this now, so we have this is your chart here. So we have your fish, we have your fruits, we have meat, we have seafood, we have vegetable. And then if you come to this way, you will find out that these are actually all the categories that we have here. These are all the categories that we have here, and then it's showing here. So if you actually want to, let's say you want to show, let me show the data labels. Visualization is something entirely that we, if time permits us, we'll be able to treat in this bootcamp too. So we have your fish, which is 18. So these are the total number, like total quantity. We have fruits to be 60. We have, so from here you can actually see your visualization without having any issues. So same thing here. Abeg, help me minimize noise o. Yeah, do. I'm in class o. So sorry, I got muted. So same thing here. So you can come to this place. Let's say we have something like this here. So you can come to this place. Let's pick this again, and then let's use and copy. So let's say we wanted to use pie chart. So if you come to this place now, you can see we have fish, fruit, meat, and then seafood. So this is representing these things in a pie chart format. Let me put a data label there so we can have the numbers showing too. So that's about the visualization. Now, and then your second question about absolute reference and then relative reference. Now, I might not be able to really expatiate on that for you now, but I will explain basically for you so that others won't get lost while trying to explain to you. Now, when you're talking about absolute referencing, I was explaining that each of these cells, if you come here, that each of these cells has their own name. We have A3 here. Now, if you want to reference only this A3, let me come to this place. Let me come to this sum okay, count if. Let me come to count if. This is fruit, abi. Now if you check this, let me see where we use okay, instead of using fruit, let me use vegetable. Let me use vegetable. Now if you see this vegetable, I wanted to calculate the quantity for each of this category. So let me copy all of this for the person that asked for absolute referencing. Then let's come to my data. So let me remove the duplicates in this. Let me just copy this one. I have 9 minutes left. So let me come here. So we only have this. So these are all the categories. Now I want to calculate the quantity for each of these categories that we have here. So here now, what I'm going to do is what? Equals sum if, then we have range. So range, the sum that we actually want to sum is what? We want to sum this quantity, that's the range. Sorry. So that's the range. So this should be the range. So this is your range here for that. And then the criteria, I will not pick fish. Then after picking the fish, then I want to sum the quantity. I want to be fast as possible. So for fish, we have 18. Now, if you look at something, we have, so for each of these now, you see as I'm dragging it down, the value is actually changing because here now is showing me that okay, for seafood, here is showing me for meat. So this is basically like a relative referencing. But when you're talking about absolute referencing, so you are referring to one particular cell. So when you are doing that kind of absolute referencing, what you will do is there's a dollar sign you will put here. If you put the dollar sign here, so this is an absolute referencing. Now, if you drag this down, do you see that we have the same value for this fish from up here down here? So what you are doing is that you are only referencing this fish irrespective of where you are dragging it to. Excel should only reference this fish. Now I will tell us a scenario where we can actually use this kind of absolute reference and then a relative reference. By the time you start using lookup functions, you'll be able to know, okay, this is how I'm supposed to apply my absolute referencing and then my relative reference. So probably next class, I think that's what is in my next case. We are even supposed to do absolute reference, but because we are confused, my next class will be taking the absolute reference. uh, and then text format. So if time permit us, we will if time permit us in nice class. But for today, I hope I've been able to make justice to this absolute reference. Yes, yes, yes. Now, the quick one. Now, the most efficient way to summarize data by category, you can use your pivot table. Yes, you can use pivot table to summarize your data by category. It's one of most easiest way. But for me, I can use pivot table. I can decide to remove duplicates. Like now, if I copy the whole of this category and then I come to this place, paste this, I remove my duplicates. So it's only going to give me, so here now, it's only going to give me this. It's only going to give me all of this. Yes, to create a pivot table and then to analyze data more dynamically in the next class. Well, like I said, if you actually check the flyer before we register for this, I actually put it that we are going to treat pivot table and then analyzing data. But definitely it's not going to be in the next class because we still have a lot to cover before we get to pivot table and analyzing of data. Thank you. So I would just like us to take it at a pace and then one after the other so that in the rush to get to know what we really want to learn, we also allow other people to learn as we also moving. So some people don't really have basic understanding of this. So let's just move at that pace and then there's still more to learn. There's still more to learn even before we reach pivot table. So thank you all for joining tonight. I would say thank you all for joining tonight. Yeah, my thank you. So this way I'll be drawing the curtain for tonight. So is there any other question or what do you actually want me to address? So like I said, okay, last time I actually promised I'm going to upload the video and even send a question. Send yes, question for the last class. I was unable to send that because of where I was presently and then there's a bit glitch on my own side. So I'm sorry and then I'm apologizing for that. Thank you for making time to join tonight. I really appreciate it. So tonight I'm going to be sending out a form to the group. So please make sure you actually fill the form so that you can give us feedback on what we actually did and then we know what to improve on. Thank you very much. It's like I'm going to give Sandra gift after this class because she's always coming to class early. Right. So any other question? You say what? Okay. So yeah. So let's just have a wonderful night rest. So is there any other question tonight? Okay. So if there's no any other question,